I'm a dude, and I'm inviting you to join me on a podcast about brews.
Does that include stouts?
Yes, of course it includes stouts. Like I was saying, join us every Saturday on the journey into...
Wait a minute. Do you guys do anything about like IPAs?
Yes,
like that?
yes, we do IPAs.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway, join us on the Journey into Comics Network for Brews with Dudes.
Whoa, hey, have you guys do you care if I bring some Zima on?
Yes, I care if you bring Zima. Zima doesn't count. Zima's Dr. Dongo. Anyway, join us every Saturday for a podcast that delves into the craft brew world.
The following
is a journey into comics.
Journey into comics.
It's a journey into comics.
It's a journey into comics.
Journey into comics.
Journey into Comics
Network.
Production.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 17 of the Kids for Sale podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and this is the season finale for me. So my first season finale. Well, Jesus Christ, I can't even talk today. This is off to a good start. But what was I getting at already? Yeah, it's my season finale. So I wanted to start the episode off just by saying thank you to anybody who's hung in there and stayed with me for my first 17 episodes. I know this was a bumpy ride for a first season. We had a lot of, this show where it is today is not really what I had envisioned when I first started it, just because logistically the way I was planning things wasn't working out, and getting guests to come in and record with me has been way harder than I ever imagined it would be. I mean, how hard would you think it is just to say, hey, can you come over on Thursday night and record with me for an hour? But it never ends up that way, mostly because I can't remember if it was the last episode or the episode before, but we did mention that the guests we're trying to have on, they all have kids, just like we have kids. And when you have kids, a lot of your schedule revolves around them, So it's not as simple as just saying, okay, Thursday, we're going to do that Thursday. It's more like, well, my week, Thursdays are good. Your week, Tuesdays are good. What can we do that works for both of us, And it's difficult. It's hard to do. And if you're listening to this, you're most likely a parent yourself, and you already understand the difficulty in that. The kids' schedules always come first. As we've spent many episodes discussing soccer schedules and baseball schedules and football schedules, and now we're into basketball schedules and dance classes and preschool, daycare. Mark's in second grade, so grade school. It's just always revolving around their schedules, which is something that as a parent you have to accept. It's not about you anymore. You made these little people, and you gotta do right by them now. That's a weird way to start this podcast. I don't know where I was going with that. My point was, though, that I wanted to have more guests. I was hoping for a guest at every episode. I was hoping for things would work where me and Ashley could even record every week. But that got harder and harder as we went along, which is why she's no longer like the permanent co-host on this show. She jumps in when she can, but it's a rarity when Ashley and I get time together alone without the kids, and we don't always want to spend that sitting in front of a microphone for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I know the episodes are only an hour, but by the time I get everything set up and stuff, it's a whole night gone for us, And since we don't get many of those, it's hard to justify it sometimes. God, I'm like apologizing for all this stuff, and that's not what my point was. My point was where I am today on this show is not what I had expected. So the fact that you guys stuck in there with me, if you're still listening to this, I appreciate it. I appreciate you hanging in there. And my promise to you is that I'm going to take a season off to work on my new show, which if you pay attention to the Journey into Comics Network, you'll see that I teased a new show that will be starting in a couple of weeks, where me and my buddy Larry are going to talk about music. It's called Crucial Tunes. Shameless self-promotion on my own podcast. Anyway, so I will be doing Crucial Tunes for the next season. But by the time I come back to Kids for Sale, next summer or whatever it may be, or I guess since we're in 2019, this summer is what I meant to say. The next summer that happens will be when I jump back into Kids for Sale, I'm pretty sure. But by the time I get back, I will hopefully be a lot more organized. I'll have the social media shit down, because I've been promising you that for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I haven't gotten down to it. Maybe even I'll find a new co-host by then, and I'll be able to work something out with them. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows what the future may hold? But that's my plan for you, is to be way better structured by next season. I'm still very new to this, which I'm sure is pretty obvious every time you sit down and listen to me. But I hope I'm getting better. I don't know. Am I? Tell me. I don't, if I'm getting worse, tell me. I honest to God, I'd like to bring you the best content I can. So, and I know starting this episode off within the first, 6 minutes, explaining to you why it's not better. It's not a good way to start, I guess. But anyway, so season 17 is at an end. We've talked about a lot of stuff this season. We've talked about sports schedules. We've talked about, the obnoxious parents on the sports teams. That was like episode 1, I think, the baseball thing. We've talked about, my mom came on episode, what was that, 10 or 11? And we talked about embarrassing stories from my past, which so I really would like to have my mom back on again. I know we mentioned that before, because my mom is a notorious cheapskate, and she's proud of it. It's something she's proud of. I'm not saying that to be mean. She enjoys the fact that she is frugal, and she's very good at it. So I think a great idea for an episode, which I was hoping to have done this season, but we saw where that went. We saw where that ended up. I was hoping to have her on for an episode of like money saving tips, just because, having kids is not cheap. So the cheaper you can make it, the better sometimes. Actually, you know what? While we're on the subject of saving money, we've been on a tight budget just through the holidays and stuff, because we've been spending all our money on Christmas stuff, and Santa had to buy presents and all that good stuff. So something that, like a consequence that I should have foreseen, but I didn't for some reason, of spending all that money on presents and stuff, was like, it got harder and harder to stock our kitchen cabinets. Like we were a lot of times like scraping through the cabinets to find meals. And so we found a few ways to like stretch our pennies as far as like feeding the kids and feeding ourselves went. And I'll tell you what, so you're going to find out really quick. I didn't have a plan for this episode. I'm just going to kind of recap the whole season. And if stuff pops into my head, that's what we're going to go with. There's no plan for this episode, just because, I don't know. I didn't have a guest. I didn't have a co-host. It's just me. I'm not good at these just me episodes, so that's my plan. I'm going to recap the season, and I'm just going to throw little things out here and there that I think of. So, yes, back to money-saving stuff. I feel like this is an obvious thing that almost every parent knows, but when you're trying to budget or you're saving money for something, your best friends for feeding your kids are hot dogs, macaroni and cheese, or my kids, it's not even so much macaroni and cheese, it's just pasta. Like we buy the tricolored rotini, we buy the spaghetti, we buy the angel hair, we buy whatever, and then they just like smother it in Parmesan cheese, which for any of you health nut parents out there, yeah, it's not a very nutritious meal, but you know what? They'll eat the shit out of it. They'll eat a ton of it. My son, Mark, at this point I can just call him Mark. I don't think I need to say my son. Mark, his favorite meal is just noodles and Parmesan cheese. That's been his favorite meal since he was like 4 years old, thanks to Aunt Betsy, who was a guest on a previous episode. He went over to her house one time, and she introduced him to Parmesan cheese, and now everything is smothered in Parmesan cheese. But his favorite is just noodles with cheese. But here's, they can't just eat that, obviously. Oh, excuse me, I got a stuffy nose too, I'm sorry. So you gotta give them, you gotta get apples or applesauce or fruit cups are pretty cheap sometimes. Or canned fruit is cheap. Bags of frozen vegetables are cheap. Shit, you guys know all this already, right? If you're a parent, you know all this already. You should. It's obvious, right? But here's stuff that like we've done to stretch our ingredients. So you got a bag of hot dogs, and you got a box of macaroni and cheese. You cut up the hot dogs into the macaroni and cheese. Am I telling you anything you don't know already? It's like an exotic new meal for the kids. That, wow, look at that! And there's hot dogs in the mac and cheese. I think it's disgusting. I think it's terrible. I don't like hot dogs that much to begin with. I only like the beef hot dogs because I'm a snob like that. But I don't know. I feel like I'm giving you guys nothing here. But am I helping anybody? Does anybody not know about hot dogs and mac and cheese? You gotta, right? Actually, we made mac and cheese last night for dinner just because today was payday. But yesterday we were broke and we were down to our last couple things in the cabinets, which is what made me think of this. So I made a box of mac and cheese, and I personally don't like the powdered cheese mac and cheese, so I made myself a box of shells and cheese. Lucky for me, the kids don't like the shells and cheese with the liquid cheese. They like the powdered cheese. So I get the good stuff, they get the crappy stuff, and we're all happy. So I made mac and cheese, and we had a can of corn. I heated up the can of corn, and Ashley mixed the corn in with her mac and cheese. Said that was something she always did when she was a kid. I have never heard of that. But she seemed to like enjoy the thought of it. Like it was a nostalgic thing for her. Although she did say that it wasn't as good last night as she remembered it being when she was a kid. But I mean, that's something she remembered fondly as a kid was the sweet corn in her mac and cheese. So boom, there's an idea. It's something, and the corn ups the nutrition value of the mac and cheese. So man, it's two birds with one stone, Totino's pizzas are another one that was real popular when I was broke. You can buy those things for like $1 a piece, and the pizza it's junk pizza. You guys know Totino's pizza, right? The party pizzas. They used to be like little round pizzas, and then like somewhere along the line they decided, well, this is gonna be better if they're square. So now they're square pizzas, which I still don't understand. But yeah, you can get them like 10 for 10 at the grocery store on sale a lot. It's very often that they throw the Totinos on sale like 10 for 10, and they're filling. I can usually down a whole one myself, but for $1, it's a meal. It's again, here's the thing: it's not nothing cheap is nutritious. It's just one. They don't go together. So if you're budgeting and trying to save money on your food budget, it's not going to be healthy meals, and you have to be willing to accept that. But Totino's pizzas are a good cheap one. I don't know. I lost my train of thought already. Just it's too early for this shit. So this I'm not feeling as bad as I did the last episode. If you listen to the last episode, it was a fucking mess just because I had a migraine the night before and I barely slept and I was recording on like 2 hours of sleep. Well, I was supposed to record this episode last night, but I got another migraine. But it did not prevent me from sleeping as much as it did the week previous. So I'm not feeling as bad as I did on the last episode, but I'm not feeling great today. So I apologize if I rambled today, but it should just hang in there. It's not going to be as bad as last week, I promise. Unless it already is it? I don't know. I ask you guys all these random questions, and I'll tell you right now, nobody has ever answered me. Nobody. No comments, no messages. I get messages from Nate, the head of the network, all the time, telling me, oh, I liked this part, I liked that part. Which, Nate, I love you for leaving me all that feedback because you're literally the only one right now. So it's nice to hear from somebody, and I'm really accessible, guys. I promise I am. I don't bite. You can message me. You can email me. Find me on Facebook. Find my personal Facebook profile and friend me if you listen to this show. And like if I'm whatever, I don't. You get what I'm saying. I'd just love to hear from other parents or people that listen to the show or anything. I've been saying it all season long. I'm trying to bring you guys a good show, and I can't do that without knowing what you guys want to hear more of or less of. So if you don't give me any feedback and the show starts getting worse, it's nobody's fault but your own. I'm not going to take the blame for it. That's not my way. It's your fault. It's all your fault. And I hope you realize that. Take a sip of this coffee real quick. Delicious getting cold coffee. All right, where were we at? I was talking about money-saving tips because I was backtracking to when my mom was a guest, and my mom's cheap. We talked about vacation. We went on vacation over the summer. That was like one of the first few episodes, too. We took the kids to South Dakota for a family reunion, and quickly followed by a trip to the Wisconsin Dells. Yeah, vacation. So I've been helping a buddy of mine plan a vacation for his family to New Orleans because I was living down there for a while a couple years ago for work. So I got to know the city pretty well, and I was helping him figure out fun stuff to do with his kids. And I was thinking there might be that's a different families take different kinds of vacations. So it's hard for me to like do an entire episode on vacations when some people like to go to cities. Some people like to go to like cabins in the mountains. Some people like to go to resorts. Some people like to go to theme parks. Some people like to camp. Some people like hotels. So it's hard for me to dedicate an entire episode to. I was thinking about doing an entire episode about vacation planning, but like it's what I do doesn't work for everybody. I can tell you what I like to do. I like to see the cities. I'm not big into like. I like to camp, but my kids aren't ready for camping yet, which we found out over the summer. Which it's not that camping was bad. When we went to South Dakota, it wasn't bad, but I don't know. The girls are a little too young for it, so it's a lot of extra work to have them. Maybe once they get a little bit bigger and a little more self-reliant, camping would be a better idea because camping is cheap. That's the one thing that's nice about it. It's cheap, but you give up a lot of, you give up clean showers, you give up air conditioning, unless you have like a really nice RV or something. But if you're trying to go cheap and you have just a pop-up camper or a tent even, there's a reason they call it roughing it, you know? But yeah, in my experience with that, 4 years old was a little bit too young, at least for my girls, was a little bit too young to bring them camping. Again, it wasn't like it was a big mess or anything, but it was just difficult. Once they get 6 or 7 and they can handle themselves a little better, they can ride their bike around the campground a little bit. That'll be nicer. But for the time being, I think camping's out for the next year or so for us. I don't know. Like I said, vacations. You guys, would that be an episode you want to hear by next season? Is helping plan vacations? We've planned vacations with the kids, and that's another thing I could maybe get my mom in on, because she's planned a lot of vacations with us. And we did all kinds of vacations when I was a kid. When I was real little, we started by, my mom and dad, they bought a pop-up camper, and we spent a few summers going for like a week or two, just driving out and seeing, like, one year we saw Mount Rushmore and the Badlands and stuff. And one year I don't even remember. I don't remember what vacation. We took a vacation, so this wasn't camping, but one year we went to Philadelphia because my dad had a cousin in Philadelphia, and we saw some like historical landmarks and stuff. We took a trip to Vermont one time to visit my uncle who was living out there at the time, and we got to see like the Ben and Jerry's factory. We did factory tours. I remember a lot of factory tours when I was a kid. Maybe not a lot, but that was like the Ben and Jerry's factory. We did a tour of the Hershey factory in Hershey, Pennsylvania. That was a cool one. We went to Battle Creek, Michigan one time when I was a kid, and we were supposed to see the Kellogg's factory, but I don't remember why we didn't end up doing that tour. I think so. The excuse at the time was that that it was like there was a really bad storm, which it was. I remember waking up to a really nasty storm, and I think they said, "Oh, we don't want to go when it's storming." But I mean, the factory's inside. I think the real deal was, I think my parents were fighting. I think. If my mom's listening to this, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they took us to Battle Creek, Michigan, and they got in a huge, huge fight, because this was before they got divorced. And we didn't end up going to the Kellogg's factory that day. We did Disney a couple times when I was a kid, once that I remember before my parents got divorced. And then after my parents got divorced, my mom took us back to Disney. That's been really our only vacation since my parents got divorced, with my mom anyway, is Disney every couple of years. So we're Disney experts at this point, which is fine. It's perfect because I love Disney World. Although, I'm going to have to dedicate a whole episode to Disney World because there's a lot to talk about. But, man, Disney World the last few years has been up to some shit. If you're a Disney World fan, you probably already know the stuff I'm talking about. But, man, it's not the vacation. To me, it's not the vacation that it used to be. I still love it. I still want to go every chance I get. But, I don't know. It's becoming more and more of a hassle and less of just a fun, carefree vacation, God damn it. I don't know where I was going with any of this. I don't know. Vacation planning. I guess I could do an episode about it, but like I said, it's I've said it a couple of times already. Different families have different things, and that's why I was afraid to do that one. But let's see what else. Sipping this coffee real quick. We talked to my sister, who lives down the street, who I actually hoped she would be on a few more episodes since she lives right down the street. But I don't know. She's hard to pin down too. Just her husband works he's working different shifts and stuff all the time. So there's different times that my sister's available, and it barely ever matches up with me. We talked about Christmas. We talked about, man, I wish if I had done any prep work whatsoever, I could have remembered all 16 episodes and what I talked about on all of them and given you a good recap. But I don't know. I went into this haphazardly thinking that I could just wing it and give you a good recap, and I'm spacing out completely now. So here we are, 25 minutes in, and I'm 24 and a half, I'm sorry. 24 and a half minutes into the episode, and I'm already lost and not knowing what to talk about. I was trying to get the kids involved in this for the last episode and have them record with me. Because right after the last episode that we released, which was just after Christmas, the following week of New Year's, we had all three of the kids with us for the entire week. Actually, you know what? Let's take some time to talk about that. So I had all three of the kids here for the whole week. And I was off of work. I took vacation that whole week. But Ashley was not off of work. Ashley had to work every day last week. She was on call for New Year's, which for her on call means, she's working. It's not just on call. It's like, since she's on call, she has visits to do every day. She's a hospice nurse. I don't know if I've said that before or not. But she's a nurse for a hospice company. And on holidays and stuff, somebody has to be on call. And since everybody else is off, there's people that have to be visited every single day when they're on hospice, to get their medications and to, I don't know how familiar anybody is with hospice, but it's tough work. So, she had to go into work. That's my whole point. See, I'm rambling. She had to go into work on New Year's Day. So the entire week during the day was me and the three kids. And I tell you what, I have, and please don't take this the wrong way, what I'm about to say. I was going to say I have a newfound respect for, the stay-at-home moms, which that's not to imply in any way, shape, or form that I didn't have respect for stay-at-home moms before. I'm not one of those, it's not a real job kind of people. I understand how much work it is. I know it's a lot of work, and I don't mean to imply anything by saying that I have a new respect, but having done it for a week, I have a new level of respect for it. Especially since I feel like I got the worst kind of week because the kids were all home from school. I mean, again, this is not to undercut stay-at-home moms at all, but at least like when the kids are in school, you get a little relief, right, for a few hours, where you get a little time to catch up on other stuff around the house. And because that was my whole thing, was I was off for the whole week. I had a whole list of stuff around the house that I wanted to get done. And I got a few things done. I chipped away at the list a little bit, but nothing was done 100% the way I wanted to, because every time I dug into it, one of the kids would start crying, or one of the kids would run out, Dad, I need this. I need you to do that. And then, I'd go help them for a second. And then by the time I come back, I look at my watch and, oh shit, it's time to start making lunch now. So, out of my list of, say, 10 things, I got maybe 3 done, and they were like half-assed because I had 3 kids running around screaming the entire day. It would have been a real big relief if any of the kids had gone to school that week. And on top of everything else, so say during summer break, yeah, I had the kids home from school on summer break, but it was easier then too, because summer break, hey kids, go out in the backyard and play. I don't want you guys in the house for, say, an hour and a half. Go play. I'll leave a jug of Kool-Aid out on the deck for you. Easy, get them out of the house for a little bit. That gives you time to do what you need to do. This was a week in the middle of winter, and it was a little warmer the week of New Year's, but it was really wet and damp and stuff outside. So I didn't want them playing in the backyard because our backyard was just a mud puddle. I tried to get them to play in the front yard, but my front yard's kind of small. And the road is there, and I don't trust the girls near the road when I'm not outside. So they were cooped up in the house with me while I'm trying to get stuff done in the house. So I don't know. It was tough. And the moms that are able to work with that and get it done still, get everything they need done, my hat's off to you, because I couldn't do it. Maybe with a little more practice, I'd get better at it. But for just that 1 week that I got, it was all I could do just to make sure they were fed and not killing each other for the week. So that was that. Let's talk about New Year's Eve a little bit, just because our New Year's Eve was a little bit of a bummer. We had, like I said, all 3 kids for New Year's Eve. Livy started throwing one of her patented temper tantrums around like 7 or 7:30. And we decided to just ignore it, because we've discussed this before. With Livy's tantrums, when she goes into meltdown mode, there's nothing you can do to console her, and nothing you can do to reason with her. And in all honesty, I don't even know why she was suddenly throwing a temper tantrum. There was nothing that I knew of that flipped the switch, Just all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Scarlett comes and talks to me and says, Livy's hiding under her bed or something, and she won't stop crying. Or I don't remember what it was, but and we tried very quickly to reason with her, and she just wasn't having it. So we just said, you know what, let's just let this one run its course, and we left her alone. And then about an hour and a half later, I went to go check on her because she had been quiet for a while. And nothing has made me feel this bad in a while. She had tucked herself into bed and had fallen asleep by like 8:30, 9 o'clock on New Year's Eve. The night we were going to let all 3 of them stay up, she had put herself to bed and fallen asleep already. And she obviously needed the rest. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been having the meltdown. So we let her sleep, but man, I felt guilty about it the rest of the night. Because we wanted to have fun with the kids and, watch it. So we ended up watching Hot Rod with Mark and Scarlett. I thought that would be a fun thing to do as a family, sit and watch Hot Rod. Because it's a stupid, goofy movie, and all my kids love that stupid, slapsticky kind of humor. So Livy falls asleep. We realize we have no snacks or drinks or anything around the house. And then we realize that it's New Year's Eve. Everybody's closed already. So I ran to the gas station and just picked up a bunch of candy and some stuff for the kids to drink, slushies and stuff. And we just sat on the couch and watched Hot Rod. And so it's getting late into the movie. I look at the clock. It's 11:57. I was like, oh, shit, we got to watch the countdown. But we don't have cable hooked up in our living room. We only have Netflix and Hulu. So I start Googling real quick on my phone, how do we watch the countdown? Or can I stream it on my phone and cast it to my TV? Or, how can we watch this countdown? And I'm Googling. That's a hard word to say 3 times in a row. And I look at the clock. I start hearing fireworks. I look at the clock. It's 12:01. We missed the countdown. So I went and got some pots and pans real quick for the kids. Ran outside and clang, 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 clang. But they were really embarrassed about doing it. So it was just clang, clang, clang. Happy New Year. Okay, we're done. So, man, when I was a kid, my mom gave me a pot and pan for, a pot and a big spoon or spatula or something. Dude, I was banging on that thing for like 10 solid minutes when I was a kid. But it's 12:03 and we're already ready to go back inside and finish the movie. So, New Year's Eve was a bit bizarre for us. But the kids loved Hot Rod, which is exactly what I expected. I love Hot Rod. You guys ever watch Hot Rod? Yeah, cool. All right, cool. Let's see. We talked about New Year's Eve. We talked about the week that the kids were home. Oh. I don't know. I wanted to do part 2 of the divorce episode before the end of the season. Some other stuff has come up. Like just recently, we're about to go into a child support debate. But I don't know. That's something that, I don't know. I guess child support would be something good to talk about on an episode, but I don't want to be the one giving you guys advice about child support, because I'm not a lawyer, but I have learned a lot about it since my divorce. There's a lot of information you can find online. And if you get a bad lawyer, there's a lot of information that your lawyer probably doesn't even know or won't look up for you. So I guess my best advice to you, if you're going through any kind of child support stuff, get a good lawyer, I guess. It's going to cost you a lot of money to get a good lawyer, more than it does to get a bad lawyer, obviously. There's a reason why they cost more. It's because they're better. But if you weigh out the money that it costs for a good lawyer compared to how much you end up paying extra in child support, over the years, it could be worth it to get a better lawyer, My child support's pretty hefty. And this is I'm not going to dig too deep into this because I don't want to get too personal with it, just because I don't want the wrong people to hear this and take offense to it, Me and my ex are at a okay place right now where I don't feel like there's a lot of animosity, and I don't want her to hear me raving about child support and take it the wrong way. But I don't know. I got not a bad deal. I didn't get a bad deal on child support. Here's the thing. So many people get so mad about child support. I am going to get into this a little bit. There are so many guys out there that get so mad about child support because they're paying this much, blah, blah, blah. And, oh, but she doesn't need that much to feed the kids, and she doesn't need that much, and blah, 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 blah. I feel like a lot of people miss the point of child support. Your child support is not just to... This is getting too serious now, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So, all right, the first half of the episode was a little bit lighthearted and blah, 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 blah. This is about to get a little bit more serious, so buckle up. Child support is not just meant to feed the kids and clothe the kids and pay for school and stuff. It's not just for that, and I think a lot of people miss that point. The point of child support is to level the playing field, so to speak. The point of child support is to make sure that one parent does not have a financial advantage over the other parent, as far as, like, for instance, let's just use some arbitrary numbers here. Let's say I was making $500,000, which way, 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 way more than I will ever make in my life. I'm using that as a high number just to prove a point. Let's say I'm making $500,000. Meanwhile, my ex is only making minimum wage. The point of me paying a way higher child support at that point is so that I don't have this big, beautiful house and they have big screen TVs in every room and they have, a pony in the backyard or whatever. And then at mom's house, they have a little 13-inch tube TV. Where do you think the kids are going to want to spend their time? Kids love their mom, kids love their dad, but kids love stuff, And for one parent to be making significantly more than the other is an unfair way to get the kids to prefer coming to their house. Does that make sense? So when people are getting all mad because oh, well, she doesn't need that much child support. I know how much it takes to feed the kids and I should get to keep my money. I work harder for it. It's not about that. It's about making sure the kids have the same advantages at both houses. Does that make sense? I'm probably not explaining this right either. This is probably the worst way possible to explain it, but it's and also don't be so fucking selfish either. Don't you want your kids to be happy even when they're not with you? How selfish can you be that you think they should have to eat, ramen noodles at their mom's house just because she doesn't have a good job? Don't you want them to have good meals and good, nice clothes? And don't you want them to have happiness at their other house, whether it's with you or not? Should your kids only be happy with you? That's so fucking selfish and so stupid. It's such a stupid way to think. I don't know. That's my tangent, my rant for the day, I guess. I don't know. But at the same time, as is my case, child support should not be the reason that I can't afford groceries at my house. You know what I mean? Which it's not as bad anymore. But when I first started paying child support, my child support has been really high since I started paying it. And for a while, I almost couldn't afford for myself to live because my child support was crippling me. Thank God Ashley had a decent job and she was able to buy groceries and stuff for our house. Now that she's working, as a nurse, it's way easier on us now. We have a comfortable life now. So child support's not as big of a deal, but man, at first it was agonizing. So, I don't know. Am I talking in circles here? Did I make any point there? Did anything make sense out of that? And then of course you have the guys. I'm not going to throw names out there, because again, it might hit too close to home. But there's guys that only have they're only required to pay $30-$40 a week, and they still don't do it. Makes things harder for the rest of us that are trying to be honest. Just saying. Fuck. That got dark. And now I can't dig my way out of that one. How do I bring this back to being fun and lighthearted? I don't know. I'm gonna keep. I guess I got nothing else major to talk about. So rather than hold you guys hostage for another 15 minutes, maybe I'll just clip us off here. I do want to say one more time, thank you for anybody who's hung in there all the way through my first 17 episodes. This has been a big learning curve for me. I've only hosted one podcast before this one, and it only made it like 6 episodes before we called it quits. And that was a Disney themed podcast, which Disney is something that, and I did have co-hosts on that one too, so it was much easier to pull an episode together because it wasn't just me sitting in front of a microphone trying to talk for 45 minutes. Anyway, what was my point? Yes, I've only hosted one podcast before this one. So this one's been a learning curve, especially since the subject of this one is so much more personal, and I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to pull this one off because I'm not a very I don't know. I have a high level of social anxiety, let's put it that way, which talking into a microphone actually for whatever reason doesn't hurt that at all. Knowing how many people are going to be listening to this, which it's not like I have a huge audience or anything, but knowing that I'm talking about really personal stuff on some episodes and it's going out there to random strangers that I don't know to hear. It's actually been a lot more therapeutic than I thought it was going to be. So I'm rambling more. I appreciate everybody hanging in there for the first season. I promise to do better next season. So I really hope you stay tuned long enough to catch me in season 2 next summer. I will be more organized, and hopefully I'll start recording some guest interviews in my downtime. That way I won't have to scramble to find guests at the last minute. I can be more prepared, and I'll record a bunch of interviews in advance and just throw them out there as episodes when the season starts back up. That's the idea right now anyway. I'll try to get back on social media, and I'm going to every once in a while be posting stuff on the Facebook page for this. Even when we're down for the season, I'll still be posting stuff every once in a while, some pictures or videos or whatever. And I welcome you to post stuff on the Facebook page as well. Pictures that you'd like to share of your families, videos or whatever that you've taken, or videos, even memes. I like the kid themed memes. That's fun stuff. God, I feel so old. Oh, how about some of those good memes? That was stupid. That was really dumb. Anyway, so thank you. I truly, truly mean that. Thank you to anybody that's taken the time to listen to me, especially for 17 episodes. That's 17 hours that you've spent with me. You realize that? I mean, it doesn't sound like much when you realize it's been since June or whatever. 17 hours is not that much, but if you stacked it all together and you were listening to every episode in a row, it would take you almost 2/3 of a day. More than 2/3, just an hour more than 2. It would take you 17 24ths of a day with me. So, thank you. I really, really mean that. Thank you to everybody who's here with me still. Please take some time to email me or message me on Facebook or whatever, what have you. I'd like to hear what you thought of my first season. I'd like to hear what you want to hear more of. If you have ideas for episodes, if you have stories. I would like, what I would really like? I would like to figure out a way that you can leave me a voice message without giving out my personal phone number, something like a voicemail that I can then play, tack onto the end of episodes. If you have a funny, quick story about your kids, you can call me with. I'm gonna work on getting something like that. So keep a lookout on the Facebook page, and I will be posting more ways that you can get a hold of me. Because I want to hear more from the listeners. I should rephrase that. I want to hear anything from the listeners because it still has yet to happen. But for real, kidsforsalepodcast@gmail.com. Kids for sale, or is it kidsforsalepod@gmail.com? Fuck. See, this is why I can't keep my social media stuff straight, because I don't remember what's what. It is kidsforsalepodcast@gmail.com. No dots, no underscores, no nothing. It's all one, kidsforsalepodcast@gmail.com. Email me, please. Send me stories, send me pictures. Find me on Facebook. Find the Kids for Sale Podcast Facebook page, which I think is Kids for Sale Pod. Find my personal Facebook page if you want to, Chris Plant. You will see pictures and videos of my kids there. Just family pictures and all that shit. And you can message me. You can comment on my stuff. You can whatever. A big thank you to Nate at the Journey into Comics Network for letting me ramble like this for 17 episodes, and for keeping the schedule open for me to do this again, hopefully. And for him letting me start my new show, which should be starting, it'll be taking over this Kids for Sale slot. So every other Friday will be Crucial Tunes. I think so. Right, Nate? That was the schedule that he sent out, was 2 weeks from today, which this episode that I'm recording right now should be coming out within the half hour. Today on Friday, what is today? Friday the 11th or 12th or something of January? 11th. So 2 weeks from today, the 25th, is when Crucial Tunes makes its debut appearance. No, I guess not debut. The debut was a couple weeks ago. We put out a teaser episode of our top albums of 2018. The actual show, episode 1, will be starting in 2 weeks. So keep an eye out for that. You can also find Crucial Tunes on Facebook. We already have our Facebook page up. There's not much on it yet, but Larry is way better at social media than I am, so that'll hopefully stay fresh. Way fresher than the Kids for Sale page. But yes, thank you to Nate for putting me on his network. Please check out journeyintocomics.com and listen to there's a bunch of great shows on the network. I've said it before. I will say it again. There is literally content every day of the week, and there is something for everyone to enjoy. And these guys and gals on the network, they're all experienced podcasters. They are good hosts. They are funny. They are fun to listen to. Well-educated. That's a stupid thing to say. I don't know. I'm trying to talk it up. There's a lot of interesting and funny and fun and whatever content on the network. Whatever you could want. I don't know what kind of podcasts you're into, but I promise you there is something on the network you'll enjoy. Something besides my rambling about my kids for an hour. So check it out. JourneyIntoComics.com. I don't know what else to say. I've said it 1,000 times already. Just thank you for being here. I hope the best for you and your children. And your spouses, I guess. Your whole families. And I will catch you again on the next season. So stay tuned. Thanks.